What are some huge green flags that are often overlooked? When someone is quick to give credit and slow to place blame. Such a great sign that someone will celebrate other people and appreciate/acknowledge them, and will be really kind and benevolent when something bad happens. When someone is quick to give credit and slow to place blame. People doing kind or generous things they don't expect praise for, like secret gifts or acts of service. That the person is actually listening to you. I was seeing a guy recently and I told him I was feeling anxious about something. We spent 5 minutes having a sort of argument about whether I should be anxious about this situation. Then he stopped talking and said, "This clearly isn't working, let's try it differently," and asked me to start the conversation again. I was a bit confused, but the second time, instead of arguing, he asked me questions about how I was feeling and why. I really opened up and realized some things I hadn't thought of before. That's a good listener. When they show genuine interest in you or what you're doing, they listen to you go on and on about they don't care about and don't understand because they know you enjoy talking about it. When you're talking with someone and they remember what you're talking about or were talking about at one point. Another one is when they remember that you've done certain things with them and bring it up from time to time. Other than that, it's the normal stuff that shouldn't be overlooked, or the little things, I guess. I had a guy tell me one time all about how excited he was to get to see his daughter, Grace, the following weekend. I worked as a bartender. After that weekend passed and he came in, I asked, "Did you have a good weekend with Grace?" And he proceeded to say I was a psycho stalker and to never let his kid's name come out of my mouth again. Yup buddy, my bad for being nice. My boyfriend will sometimes be upset and start a sentence with "well you," and then takes a second and starts over with "I feel." I notice every time and I try and be the same way. I remember learning about this in elementary school and they were referred to as iMessages. The goal is to focus on explaining how something is making you feel versus telling the other person what they are doing and assigning meaning to their actions for them. I feel lonely when you're on your phone while I'm talking to you vs why do you always ignore me when I'm talking to you? I remember thinking it was really stupid as a kid, but as an adult it's something I have remembered. I can be a little hot-tempered, but I try to do this when I get in an argument with my spouse. General mindfulness, the little things you don't really notice if you don't pay attention. Pushing a chair in after sitting in it, asking questions and being involved with you. You can learn a lot about somebody by paying attention to how they listen, and having a partner that listens is an absolutely amazing feeling. There is a huge gap between being aware of what you're saying and understanding what you're saying. A good listener is priceless. I never thought about this until I reconnected with an old friend who told me that I was a good listener. His words are seared into my memory because they made me feel so proud and appreciated. You always made me feel heard, like what I had to say was important. You weren't just waiting for your turn to talk. We didn't actually hang out a whole lot, but if we ran into each other at a party or something we were stuck on each other and would literally talk until the sun came up. Some people you just really connect with. My boyfriend actually wasn't great at communication when we first met and I had just gotten out of a relationship where the communication was very bad, so I was determined to teach myself how to communicate well with someone, and he eventually leaned into it and decided he wanted to learn how to communicate along with me. Now several years later we are so good at communicating. We never fight, and if we do get into a disagreement, we are really good at communicating our way into a good place pretty quickly. Someone being willing to learn how to communicate is good too. A lot of times people don't know how to do it from the get-go, but if they're willing to learn, that can make all the difference. Edit, just wanted to say thanks for my first silver. I don't know why I'm this excited about a pointless award, but I'm very excited right now. Double edit, and the gold grinning squinting face. I totally get the appeal of these awards now. When someone admits to their mistake/owning up to it and does not make an excuse for failing, but trying to better themselves through that experience, being positive about it. When they don't make you feel guilty for occasionally wanting to do things by yourself. Edit, thanks for the silver. Learns the small things about you. 4.11.1. My boyfriend remembered my shoe size after mentioning it one time in some random conversation with someone else. When my shoes started falling apart he just showed up with a new pair, also having remembered that my favorites are black on black. Shucks, another random convo about never being able to find what I like at Ross. He also bought me a new pair when I complained about my feet hurting. Wasn't even due to my shoes really, just a result of working 16 hours a day. He knew my dress size and surprised me with a couple really nice ones. It's also just really nice that he knows my style and tastes. Everything he has bought me has fit perfectly and I think they're stunning. I was with my ex for 4 years and when he surprised me with a new pair of shoes, over 3 years in, I was kind of shocked at how not me they were. The guy had known me for 13 years altogether and I was like, seriously, have you ever seen me in white sneakers? He bought me things he would have liked me to wear, not things that I would like. Edit because I want to add that I was totally appreciative of the ex buying me shoes, even if they were something I would never buy for myself. I really didn't even say anything to him about them other than to thank him and tell him how sweet it was. Just reread the comment after a response and figured someone might think I was a dick about it, lol. Someone reading a book you recommend. That's commitment of free time and respect for your word. Admitting when they don't understand something and asking questions about it until they do. A few years ago I was at a party with a friend of mine, and another friend of a friend who is a physicist who worked for a startup that produced specialized magnets for quantum computing. My friend asked the startup guy about his work, and he explained it, and everybody else in the room just nodded and acted like they knew what he was talking about, but she said, "I don't understand, can you explain that a different way?" And he did, and then she kept asking questions for quite a while, and by the end of it we actually all did understand what his company did instead of just being polite and pretending we did, and it was super interesting. A couple of people thanked her afterward basically for having the self-confidence to admit she didn't have any clue what he was talking about and not being afraid it would make her look dumb, because the rest of us were all content to pretend we knew instead of actually taking the initiative to find out. I respected her so much for that. Complimenting others behind their backs. Alongside that, defending others who aren't there to defend themselves, even when the rest of the group is nodding along with whatever behind their back insult has been brought up. Treating people you don't have to treat respectfully, with respect. I'm currently an Uber Eats driver and I found a huge contrast in the manner hospitality staff treat me when I'm picking up orders, compared to when I'm a customer. It seems because I'm not a paying customer, service staff seem to think it's okay to treat me like or a lesser individual. Giving people the benefit of the doubt, and not being so quick to hate and hold grudges. One mistake or one bad day does not define a person. Being okay to tell you that they're nervous or scared. If a guy tells me he's either nervous or scared of something, it usually means that they like to enough to be vulnerable and open up about how they feel. Usually guys get made fun of for being nervous and even more so for being scared, but I see it as a total green flag. Asking you how you're doing/feeling. It was weird for me to go from a moderately abusive man, and not even being bothered by it. It was normal, to an amazing man, my husband. He asks me how I am, and genuinely wants to know. It's done my mental health wonders to know that he actually cares about me, and it's the smallest thing he could possibly do. And, since he's also a Redditor. Husband, if you're reading this, I love you. Pushing a chair in at a public establishment when you leave. Putting the used grocery cart back where it's supposed to go. Using that weird flashy light on your car before you merge or turn. Edit, first Reddit Silver. Thank you, smiley face. Cleaning up after themselves in public when no one is looking. I never realized what I was missing until I got with my current GF, it's being able to talk about bad stuff. I had a breakdown and apologized for it. The first thing she told me is to please never apologize for feeling bad. It was such a special thing for me, and when I told people about this they told me this is how it's supposed to be. Being able to feel bad and not be afraid they'll be any less in love with you because of it. My very first silver. I feel honored.